Hello and welcome to my madness. Uh, I've got to be mad for exploring all of this stuff here to do with, for instance, the pros and cons of party line voting. Now, we see that a lot, particularly now. And in our political landscape, this whole idea of party line voting has become common practice on both sides. Don't think it's just the Republicans. They just happen to be in control right now. Before that, it was the Democrats. They did the same thing. So both parties are stuck in party line voting mode. And we're going to explore the pros and cons of that because it directly affects us as citizens of the United States. One of the things that party line voting does is it creates cohesion and unity within the party itself. If the party has certain objectives, then those party members, particularly if they are in control of one or both houses, can pass that particular agenda. It's got nothing to do with the people, but it has everything to do with the agenda. And just to give you an example, the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, as some people like to call it, in 2010, the Democratic Party essentially voted along party lines to pass the bill. They didn't care if it was beneficial. This is what they wanted, and they went along party lines to pass it. And it was this unity that was important to get this through legislation. And granted, the whole idea was to reform healthcare. But there were some aspects of it that were not very good. And, the Affordable Care Act has worked its way through the court system several times. And through these decisions and such, the junk aspects of it have been taken out. The better parts of it have been strengthened and perhaps even expanded. And party line voting also helps to streamline legislation. I mean, when the party members vote in unison, the stuff can pass very quickly. But it does not necessarily mean that it benefits the people. The Republican Party's unified position on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts of 2017 pushed the bill through. It was a cohesive party line vote. And the idea with this was to lower corporate taxes so that companies could invest in their businesses, hire people, improve the economy. And yes, wages grew. Great. They expanded. Unfortunately, the deficit that we have today is in part a result of those tax cuts. Pluses and minuses. Everything that happens has pluses and minuses. And they are exacerbated, made obvious through party line voting. And another thing about party line voting is that it strengthens the discipline within the party. The idea is with that is to compel members to adhere to the party's policies and strategies. And just to give you an example, recently in this whole thing about the budget, Mr. Trump simply told the party members, just close your eyes and vote, compelling members to adhere to the party's agenda. And Mr. Trump is the head of the party. So they are, compelled to follow his agenda. And to give you another example here, in 2021, the Democratic Party maintained discipline during a vote on the American Rescue Plan Act, creating a significant COVID-19 relief package. And this unification passed a bill that provided aid to the citizens of the United States. Payments of up to $1,400 paid out to eligible citizens. Of course, everybody got that. Not only the people that really needed it, but the people that didn't need it as well. Again, pluses and minuses. Everybody got it, including those that didn't need it. Well, where did it come from? Taxes were cut, so it added to the deficit. And many of those people didn't need it. I didn't need it, and I got it. Could I give it back? No. This is why it is important to have people in the legislature that will listen, that will think, and not just posture and puff up and push their stuff through because they can. Now, one of the main problems of party line voting is that it prevents an individual from voting in a fashion that they believe to be better, because you've got other members of the party trying to push this legislation through because it's part of their agenda, and this one particular person is saying, no, this is not healthy. They are forcing them to vote in accordance. And this undermines the whole idea of a representative democracy. Representative means everybody, not just people who belong to this particular group. Everybody. In 2018, Senator McCain broke with his party in an attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act. He gave it a thumbs down. Why? Because he saw the benefits of the Affordable Care Act for the people he represented. Whereas the rest of them, the whole point of repealing the act was because it was brought through by the Democrats. It was proposed by President Obama. And since the Republicans were in charge, they wanted to dismantle exactly what's happening now, dismantle everything that was done by Democrats, whether it was helpful or not. Party line voting, which can be harmful to us because it may cause those representatives who are representing them to vote against what may be beneficial to them or harmful to them. The tax cuts were actually harmful, but they pushed it through. Every time they push through tax cuts, just like they're doing now, they do not counter that with a reduction in spending. They cut out the money coming in and they spend more money than they have to begin with. No sense in that. No sense in that. With this party line voting, there is no bipartisanship. There is no working together to formulate something better for the country. There's none of that. It's strictly party only. And when this happens, when party line voting occurs, it creates a polarized environment, which is exactly what we've been experiencing for almost 20 years, a polarized environment which prevents any possibility of finding common ground on critical issues. Before President Obama took office, party line voting was around 60%. It has increased to 90% and presently often exceeds 90%. The example I'm provided here is the impeachment proceedings of President Trump in 2019, 2020. It was all party line voting. All Republicans voted against the impeachment. All Democrats voted in favor. And this exemplified the polarization that was taking place. When there is no bipartisan cooperation, legislation often stales. It comes to a standstill because there are no comprehensive solutions. There is only this way or the highway, this way or the highway. And often these decisions affect all of us citizens, in a way that is detrimental. Party line voting, well, it leads to gridlock. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that play out, gridlock. What you see in the news is Republicans pushing through these items of legislation. You don't see anything about Democrats because it's already assumed that the Democrats are going to vote against it. So they're not even consulted. All they have to do is make sure that everyone in their party votes for this piece of legislation for it to go through. That's all they have to worry about. There's nothing there. Nothing there to agree on. They don't even bother. I shouldn't say they don't. They may not even bother consulting the Democratic Party. Just to give you an example of this, in 2013, the government was shut down over funding for the Affordable Care Act. That has been a really touchy subject for everybody. Republicans wanted to delay the rollout of the plan, and the Democrats wanted it to go out on time. And this shutdown in 2018 and 2019 exemplified, showed us the disagreements between the Republican controlled Senate and the Democratic controlled House over budget allocations. One house voted along party lines, the other house voted along party lines. Did that help us? No, it did not. All it was posturing. It helped each of those parties oppose the other, but eventually we're right where we're at now. It's this versus that. Nothing that is beneficial. I get some great ideas, but are they good ideas? Not all of them. They don't become good ideas until I discuss them with someone else and I get input, and then I can make the necessary adjustments so it's a better idea. This is the whole purpose of House and Senate, to have a better piece of legislation. This is the whole idea of Republicans and Democrats to come together and create a better legislation. The debt ceiling crisis of 2011 caused the credit rating of the United States to be downgraded because the Republicans demanded spending cuts and the Democrats wanted an increase. Whereas, if they had come together, then chances are some cuts would have been made. Other areas may have been increased, but they would have worked out a plan that would have been better for everyone all the way around. Gridlock disrupts public services and creates an unstable environment. In wrapping this up, party line voting in the United States legislature is helpful and harmful. It's got its pluses and minuses. On one hand, it cements party cohesion, it brings them all together. It makes the passage of legislation very smoothly. It creates discipline. But on the other hand, it limits the representatives from truly representing those people who elected them. We are no longer voting for an individual to represent us. We are voting now for a party, a group of people, because the person we vote to represent us is not concerned with our needs. They're concerned with maintaining their status within the party. A Republican congressman attached himself to a letter written by Republicans making demands upon a Democratic governor, when it would have been better if this letter that he had associated himself with included Democratic representatives. But no, it was strictly the Republicans making demands upon a Democratic governor because that governor was a Democrat and because that governor chose to oppose the entire Republican Party, so that Democrat needed to be punished. That is the problem we are experiencing today. It is essential for our legislators to come together, both parties compromise so that they can work out legislation that is going to be helpful to everybody. By fostering this idea of collaboration and open dialogue, our country as a whole becomes more inclusive instead of polarized. Just a little something to consider all of this. I hope this helps in your understanding and such. That is my intent. I'm not necessarily for Republicans or Democrats. I'm for compromise. I'm for, well, if I was for anything, it would be a third party to end this polarized grip upon our country, upon our citizens. If this was helpful, please take a moment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We explore not just this, but we also explore other philosophies and other areas of life. Thank you very much for your attention and enjoy life.